Excellente. All right, we are on air. I'll get my Audacity rolling.
Hello to all my loyal fans. What is wrong with you?
Konnichiwa, bitches.
What's up?
God, it's been so long now. It's been 2 weeks since we did one. I feel like I've forgotten how to do it.
2 or 3? Let's see.
2 weeks, I think. All right.
Yeah, 3 weeks. It was the 19th that we last did one.
Yeesh. And I got my show notes up. All right, I'm ready to go. And Audacity is rolling. Everybody good with Audacity?
I'm ready. Everything's looking good here.
I'm audacious.
Brandy, are you good to go if you're going at all?
Looks like she's lurking.
She's lurking. Alrighty. Well, sync us up then.
Okay, let's see. On the count of 3, everybody say chakra.
I knew you were going to say that.
Maybe you should be a psychic healer. 1, 2, 3. Chakra.
And for that psychic healing, I'll use your new therapy.
Reiki puncture? Yeah.
Reiki puncture. We should talk about Reiki puncture. After we do the intro. I'll do the intro now. So welcome to the Irreverent Skeptics Podcast. Back after a couple weeks off and ready for action thanks to a nice long stay at a quantum energy spa that realigned our chakras and unclogged our meridians.
I hate it when my meridians get clogged.
I think that's like an energy enema joke.
There's some places you have to pay special extra for that.
Speaking of paying extra special, what about this Reiki puncture? This great idea you've come up with. Tell us.
Reiki puncture? Well, it's I sit around pretending to put needles in people and charge $75 an hour for it.
See, if you say on a recorded podcast though that you pretend, now you've invalidated yourself. You should never.
Well, see, I'm not really pretending to put needles in so much as I'm putting in energy needles.
Excellent. Well, that should straighten people right out. So, joining us today, Reiki puncture therapist Michael McElroy.
Namaste.
Skeptic at large, Mike Bowler.
Howdy, howdy.
Brandy Madison is lurking. She'll be making snarky comments in our group chat, which we'll share with you. And I'm your host and guru, John Homby. Your wisdom for the day: quantum information belongs to spontaneous molecules.
Yes.
That was a combination. That was a combination of two of those fake Deepak Chopra quotes you can get. The generator that you can do. Excellent.
I love that site. The Wisdom of Chopra.
Yeah, it's great. All right,
in case anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, go to, I think it's wisdomofchopra.com. It's a quote generator for Deepak Chopra that takes random things from his Twitter feed and strings them together into things that sound like things he would say.
And if you happen to be watching the show now or later, I will put it in the showcase. I think you'll be able to see it there. So today we're going to talk about pseudo-medical devices. But before we do that, I want to take a minute and have a segment I call the Humanity Ain't So Bad segment. Because without the occasional good news about the world, I just kind of wish humanity would flush itself down a toilet. Every day I wake up, I wake up in the morning and I turn on NPR in the morning as I'm making coffee, and usually that lasts about 10 minutes before I'm like, fuck, I'm tired of hearing about people dying over here and people screwing other people over there, and so
This is NPR. Today, in Pakistan, 17 people immolated themselves at a drive-in movie theater because they were bored.
Now I know what your new job is. So then I turn on, we'll watch The Daily Show, the previous night's Daily Show sometimes. While it's funny, it's still like, oh, look, humanity's a big turd. So sometimes I just I have to focus on a few things that show that humanity is in fact not a big turd. So our first story along that line, this just happened recently. A 6-year-old boy drove his little electric 4-wheeler onto the Bronx River Parkway.
Power wheels.
Yeah, you remember the Big Wheel way back in the day, or Bigfoot?
Yeah.
That's what it was. The Bigfoot way back in the day, the electric Bigfoot. So it's similar to that. So anyway, this kid he does what kids do when a parent or guardian looks away for 10 seconds and suddenly the kid's gone. So they're trying to find this kid, can't find him. He ends up. How he ends up a mile away before anyone spotted him, I don't know. But he about a mile away from the park where he started. He gets on the on-ramp to a parkway, and so 3 motorists surrounded the boy and moved him over to the side of the road so he wouldn't get hit by somebody that didn't see him. And that's
Why do you park in a driveway and drive on a parkway? What's up with that?
So yeah, I saw that. I was like, there's a little faith in humanity restored. That was nice.
Yeah.
So our next story, this is a video that someone shared with me on Google Plus, and I'll put it in the showcase and also in the show notes. It's just a video of a subway station in Perth, Australia, where a man was stepping onto the train, and there's that little gap between the platform and the train, and his foot.
Mind the gap. Yes. Seriously.
Yeah, yes. So his foot gets caught in the gap, and he falls down in it. And really quickly, people rush over to him to help him out, and the 2 of the employees there got all the people on the platform to push on the train, so everybody pushed the train at the same time and moved it enough that they could pull his foot up out of there, and that was pretty neat to see. Apparently he was fine and got on the next train after he was on his way. So that was awesome.
Yeah, it was nice to see.
And our third Humanity Ain't So Bad segment, Mike, you got a story for us.
Yeah, there's a little boy in British Columbia and up there in Canada. A 7-year-old Quinn Callender of Maple Ridge decided that he'd launch a lemonade stand in a crowdfunding campaign to help his friend who was due for some really expensive surgery. The kid had cerebral palsy, and he'd be going through a whole bunch of physical therapy to help him walk and kind of just live a normal life, but he needed some surgery to help him walk without braces. And apparently it was only available in New Jersey, and it was going to be really, really expensive. So this 7-year-old Canadian kid, with the help of his parents, set up this huge social media campaign for his lemonade stand called My Buddy Braden. And let's see, I think this was last Sunday or the Sunday before. Not just recently, the 2 boys were at the lemonade stand outside a grocery store for just that one day, and apparently raised. They were looking to raise $20,000, and they already raised $48,000 in a single day. So it's a good story. It's very heartwarming. Sounds like the kid's gonna have more than enough to cover the surgery expenses.
That is fantastic. That reminds me, Brandy sent on our behalf a birthday card to. There's a boy recently. There's a news story. I saw it on Reddit, of course, where I see all the internet. This kid, all he wanted for his birthday, he's got he's got an inoperable brain tumor, and all he wanted for his birthday was some birthday cards. And so I want to say the last time I saw he had like 220,000 birthday cards and over 10,000 packages sent to him, that's nice. That's a good thing. I don't have a link for that story in here. It just came to mind. So there's that. So should we talk about pseudo-medical devices now?
Should we? I don't know. You often open our segments by saying, should we talk about it? I'm not entirely sure this time I agree, John. I think we should not.
I don't want to talk about pseudo-medical devices. I want to talk about boobs. But since we're going to talk about boobs later on in our pseudo-medical devices segment, I have something about boobs.
Okay. Well, we can hold off on the boobs for later, if we can hold off on the boobs at all.
I just want to say it one more time, boobs.
Boobs. Send hate mail to feedback@irreverentskeptics.com.
Please send hate mail.
We still haven't gotten any. It amazes me. I don't know. I've had people promise me that they're going to do it, and then they don't. So
I have to come back here. I have to come on here and do some kind of bullshit racist rant or something. What do I got to do? I mean,
maybe we should just play the video that's in one of our What's Later.
Yes.
So we'll save that for that segment.
Indeed.
Back on track here. Pseudo-medical devices. There are all sorts of gadgets and gizmos and fake therapies out there that people promote that they say they can cure basically any disease, and they're miraculous wonder treatments. But
Acupuncture.
what'd you say? Reiki puncture? Yes.
Reiki puncture.
No, don't you doubt the Reiki puncture, man. Reiki puncture is real.
Sorry,
I have tested it on my dog, and
Yeah.
he got sick.
You tested on your dog, and your dog didn't poop. Isn't that what happened?
Yeah. So anyway,
So it had some effect, is what we've said.
moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
Magnet therapy, first on our list. Magnet therapy, there's all sorts of products that have been pimped out there for their supposed healing properties that are all these magnetic devices. Everything from bracelets and jewelry, magnetic straps that you put on your wrists, your ankle, your knees, and your back, shoe insoles, mattresses, magnetic blankets. I guess they have magnets woven into them. Magnetic creams and supplements, which is great because you always want to put unknown, untested substances in and on your body. Plasters and patches and water that has been magnetized, because apparently you can magnetize water. That's a thing. Most of the time, there's no involvement by any sort of a medical professional, no physicians, no experts, so there's no real way to check that you're doing this stuff right. You just go out and buy it, or you're given it, and nobody checks to make sure that you're using it right. So that's a good sign of a real scientific medicine right there. Let's see. The American Cancer Society, amazingly, has a really extensive page on magnet therapy. To quote from them, there are many claims about magnetic therapy that are based on the fact that some cells and tissues in the human body give off electromagnetic impulses, and this is true, although mostly those are things like muscles and nerves. The rest of the body. Volume, stop adjusting. And not the rest of the body. Some practitioners think the presence of illness or injury disrupts these fields, because that makes sense. Magnets produce energy fields of different strengths, which proponents believe can penetrate the human body, correcting disturbances and restoring health to the afflicted systems, organs, and cells. There's all sorts of claims that have been made about what these things can treat, everything from arthritis, headaches, migraines, and stress, even healing broken bones, improving circulation, reversing degenerative diseases, because when you have a degenerative disease, you definitely want fake medicine, and curing cancer, which is great. That's a great way to rip off somebody who's dying. They also claim that putting magnets over places that are in parts of your body that are in pain or disease can strengthen the body's healing ability, which I guess is a claim that can't be judged by the FDA. Supporting body function isn't really the same as saying you're curing a disease. But some people also say that the products can increase the blood flow because of the iron in your blood, which actually isn't magnetic, so this wouldn't matter anyway. They say that you can alter your nerve impulses, increase the flow of oxygen to cells, I guess, again, doing something to do with red blood cells. Decreasing fatty deposits on artery walls, because everybody knows that arteries and fat are magnetic. And realign thought patterns to improve emotional well-being. That sounds totally realistic, because we're far enough in neurology and psychology to understand how to detect a thought pattern.
That sounds like a quackery to me.
It's almost Scientological in its craziness. But let's see. Proponents of the therapies will say things like that magnetic fields produced from the negative pole of the magnet have healing powers. For some reason, it's always the negative stuff, negative pole, negative ions, all that stuff. Negative. I guess they think that a negative magnetic field, which is not a thing that exists. Magnetic fields are always dipolar. It stimulates your metabolism. It increases the amount of oxygen that your cells can take in, and it makes the body less acidic. It's kind of working along with the whole acidic basic diet thing that just doesn't make any sense, because you're just if there's anybody out there who's buying into this whole you need to have a basic or alkaline diet thing, various different fluids in your body are at various different pH levels. You don't want a single solid pH in your body, or you will die. There are acidic and basic parts of your body. Your spinal fluid, I think, is slightly acidic. Your stomach fluid is really acidic. I think it's hydrochloric acid, basically. And there are some parts of your body that are going to be more basic, but you don't want a single pH. So if this magnet thing was adjusting your body's pH, you would die. Let's see, what else? Apparently there are a lot of people who use the magnets for things believe that cancer cells can't thrive when your body has a low acidity, so they think that the magnetic fields lowering or increasing your pH and making it more basic can halt or reverse the spread of tumors, which is also fantastic. You really want to lie to people who are dying. I guess they also believe that the negative magnetic fields will speed up the healing of cuts and broken bones and cure infections that they can counter, and then they can counter the effects of toxic chemicals, addictive drugs, and other harmful substances. So the people who sell this shit, they're really, really preying on people. This is not harmless stuff. Like whenever somebody says, well, Western medicine isn't so great, what's the harm in trying something alternative? Well, you'll probably die in a lot of these cases, or you'll remain addicted to drugs, or you'll allow a bone to heal wrong, or you'll have an infection that goes rampant. So anyway.
For me, it's like, I guess my thought on that is it depends on the situation. So, Western medicine hasn't fixed my disc in my lower back, right? So if someone were like, well, what would be wrong with, I don't know, maybe like a belt or girdle or something that has magnets, what would be wrong with that? Probably nothing, actually. It would not help me, but it also probably wouldn't hurt me in that case. But, if you had some debilitating condition or some disease that if not treated with conventional medicine would be fatal, then that would in fact be very bad. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think another side of this, though, is beyond just whether or not something's going to hurt you, is if we tell people, go ahead and use this stuff, are we promoting this mindset that, you should try something that hasn't been tested or proven scientifically?
Right, which, that was not that was not me saying that I think it's a good idea by any means, just that, I guess one thing is, like, I would be less upset about something like this if it didn't target people who had a medical necessity.
Right.
So if it was just someone like me that's like, I feel a little stiff today, and someone's like, hey, if you put these magnets in your hat, you'd feel great. That would be shitty, but at the same time, it's like, at least then they're not.
It's not going to kill them.
It's some miracle cure. Yeah, I would be less pissed about that. I'd still think that's shady business, but it wouldn't be as maddening for sure.
I'm a big proponent of saying that when people say what's the harm, the whole refusing to think critically about this stuff is part of the harm, even if it's not actively killing you or something.
Right, because it's kind of a slippery slope. What's the harm? Well, there's no physical harm in this. That said, if you buy into this thing, then you might buy into miracle cures for other things.
Right. So this is a really old form of therapy, though. I think one of the oldest references that I was able to find was the 16th century physician Paracelsus, who was kind of this, I guess he thought he was the greatest physician in the world, and he had all sorts of weird ideas about healing. Back in the 16th century, he thought that magnets, because they attract iron, they could attract and eliminate diseases from the body. And back in the Middle Ages, doctors would use magnets to treat gout, arthritis, poisoning, and baldness. I guess they thought they could pull hair out of the head with the magnet. So, I might need to invest in that eventually, but whatever. Let's see. The modern version of magnet therapy really reportedly began back in the 1970s when this researcher named Albert Roy Davis, PhD, in what I don't know, noticed that positive and negative magnetic charges had different effects on human biological systems. He claimed that magnets could kill cancer cells in animals, and could also cure arthritis pain, glaucoma, infertility, and other conditions. If only it were that simple. John, your cure may be in sight. Magnetic therapy has become a large industry in the U.S. and Europe, and it's been widely used in Japan and China for many years. I'm going to go ahead and let the audience guess which one I was talking about.
I hate you guys.
It's okay. You're an old man. You have arthritis. Most of the success stories have come from a few isolated sources that don't really provide any proof that the treatment actually works. There was a 1997 clinical trial from the Baylor College of Medicine, which was small but pretty well publicized. It reported that small magnets reduced pain in people who had recovered from polio, but there are several problems with the way the study was put together. I guess, for example, the patients who were in the control group versus the active group, they differed in ways that might influence the way they respond to placebo effects. So, and I guess the study only looked at very short-term results, and it was really only meant to be a pilot study, so it wasn't really. It was like a study done to determine whether or not there should be more study done, and to date, there haven't been any more large studies done along the same lines. To test, let's see, there was another study testing the claim of improved blood flow. They compared magnets and otherwise identical discs that weren't magnetic on the arms of healthy volunteers, and they measured blood flow and found no difference whatsoever between the real and magnets that just have a constant charge as opposed to an electromagnet, which you have to have power flowing it through it, whatever. Clinical trials of static magnets for pain relief generally had mixed results. One review of studies noted that about half the studies in the review found they improved pain and the other half didn't. But it's been difficult to really do studies that can account for the placebo effect when using magnets, because patients can usually tell if the thing that they're using is magnetic because it'll attract paper clips, pens, metal pieces of clothing, things like that. It's really hard to tell somebody, no, it's not really magnetic, when they can tell for themselves it is. And that bastion of scientific worthiness, I don't know. I always start off bastion of scientific something and never finish off the sentence right. The National Center for Complementary and Alternative Medicine reviewed the data and stated scientific evidence does not support use of magnets for pain relief. So this is a group that, if anybody was going to say, yeah, this stuff works, it would probably be them. And they say, nope, doesn't work. But studies of electromagnets, which have much stronger magnetic fields, have been a little more promising, because there's actual medical uses for them. Like an MRI, for example, uses a really powerful electromagnet. So for diagnostic purposes, they're definitely useful. And maybe at really, really strong field strengths, you could affect different tissues of the body. Like I know from experience, I worked in a factory that built MRIs, and they put one up to field. I stuck my head in it and wiggled my head around, and I got dizzy. It actually affects like something about the alignment of the hydrogen atoms in your brain or something like that, and it makes you a little dizzy. But so yeah, it doesn't surprise me that really strong fields could have an effect. I mean, we're talking about I'll talk later about comparisons in field strengths, but it's significantly stronger than the Earth's own magnetic field. The American Cancer Society says that they aren't aware of any published clinical studies that involve magnets as an anti-cancer treatment. So there's actually been no studies whatsoever done about that. And they know of only one study specifically involving cancer survivors. Researchers from the Vanderbilt University School of Nursing put either magnets or non-magnetic placebo objects at 6 acupressure points of breast cancer survivors who were suffering from hot flashes. The magnets were no more effective in reducing hot flash severity and turned out to be less effective than the fake magnets in decreasing hot flash frequency. Hot flash frequency, bother, interference with daily activities, and overall quality of life. So the placebo did better than the magnets in this test, which is always a good sign. The FDA, Food and Drug Administration, has not approved the marketing of magnets with claims of health benefits, and in fact the FDA and the Federal Trade Commission have both taken action against several makers and sellers of magnets because they were making health claims that haven't been proven. Let's see. That's about all I have here. There's a study back in 1991 on static magnets with field strengths of up to 1 Tesla, which is really, really powerful. But even that found no effect on local blood flow. So the mechanism about improving blood flow and oxygen concentration and circulation, all that, it's just totally out the window. It's not supported at all by the evidence. And that's actually a really good thing, because most magnetic therapy devices use ferrite magnets, which have a field strength of about 0.35 Tesla. For comparison, the magnetic field of the Earth and the outer core is calculated to be about 0.0025 Tesla, which is 50 times as strong as the field at the surface. Your typical neodymium iron boron magnet, the really powerful ones that are used in industrial uses, like for, I guess, hard drive readers have a neodymium magnet in them, that has a field strength of about 1.25 Tesla, and an MRI's field is usually 1.5 to 3 Tesla. So if you had these magnet therapies that were actually working on affecting your blood or your organs or your bones or whatever, an MRI would tear you to pieces. But it isn't all doom and gloom. There actually may be some light at the end of the magnetic tunnel after all. The American Cancer Society, again, on their big long page about this, says that principles of magnetism have been applied very successfully in conventional medicine to magnetic resonance imaging, which uses magnetic fields to produce detailed pictures of the body without the use of X-rays, which is really, really cool. If you want to learn more about the technology, I highly suggest reading about it. It's really interesting. It's all about using magnets to align like atoms in your body so that they resonate when struck with a radio frequency or something like that. It's really cool. But researchers are working on additional medical uses based on magnetism, such as attaching anti-cancer drugs to the surface of microscopic magnetic particles that can be guided to a tumor by strong magnets outside the body. So it's not just putting a magnet on the body. You're actually using magnetic stuff to guide particles in the body, and that's really cool. I guess another possibility is that you could put particles in the body that generate enough heat when they're put in a magnetic field that they could kill some cancer cells. So that's kind of awesome. It's like, I guess it's particles that would induce a current in the particle when they're in a magnetic field, a rotating field, and so it would heat up and cause the cancer cells to die. So while current magnetic therapies really are just complete bunk, there is some hope for getting some real treatment out of the magnets eventually.
I wonder. I'm trying to remember. There was I worked years ago at this country club. There was a guy there. He was our golf pro there that was trying to sell magnetic bracelets and some kind of insert for your shoes. And
it's a soul magnet for souls.
He did pretty much the same song and dance that I think we'll talk about with the power balance bracelets in terms of demonstration.
Yeah.
And I knew enough to know it was crap, but I wasn't really fully aware of how those demonstrations worked, so I just kind of shrugged it off and walked away and mumbled shitty things about him as I walked down the hall.
As you should.
Yes. Speaking of power balance bracelets.
Yeah, you mentioned the power balance. Power balance, I don't know if they were the first one, but they were the most popular that I've ever seen. They're these brand of hologram bracelets, which I guess the manufacturers originally claimed used holographic technology to resonate with and respond to the natural energy field of the body, which is not a thing that exists, and increase sporting ability. I guess they initially denied that they had made any medical or scientific claims about their products, and numerous independent studies of the device found it to be totally ineffective for enhancing athletic performance in any way whatsoever. It was picked up really quickly by the alt-med crowd and conspiracy theory kind of people, like over on the David Icke forums back in 2010 when this stuff was really big. Somebody was asking, is there anything to this power balance stuff? And one person responded, it contains sacred geometry, so there's definitely something to it.
Sacred geometry.
And then a skeptic pops up and said that they're making all sorts of unprovable nonsense claims about energy fields, and somebody else responds, energy fields are not unprovable nonsense, you are way behind the times, and provided a link to a Reiki practitioner's website. So back in 2010, I found a cache of the company's website before they were forced to change it. They claimed that power balance is performance technology, capital P, capital T, designed to work with your body's natural energy field. Founded by athletes, Power Balance is a favorite among elite athletes for whom balance, strength, and flexibility are important. It's based on the idea... What?
How does the hologram work?
Well, Power Balance is based on the idea of optimizing the body's natural energy flow, similar to concepts behind many Eastern philosophies. Okay, the hologram in Power Balance is designed to resonate with and respond to the natural energy field of the body. I like that it's similar to concepts in Eastern philosophies, not science, not Eastern science even, just philosophies. Yes, this is like
Eastern philosophy. Is that like Eastern New Jersey philosophy?
Well, it's based on the concept of Cartesian dualism.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I have no idea what that means.
This is the mind-body split, you see. The physical and essential split. No. So the company, unsurprisingly... God damn it, volume, stop jumping on me. And it jumped right back. What the fuck? So the company, unsurprisingly, has been the focus of a whole bunch of really significant criticism, basically because of their false advertising. They were described in the press as being like the Tooth Fairy and a very successful marketing scam. Let's see, back in November of 2010, Australia's Therapeutic Goods Complaints Resolution Panel ordered them to drop what they called false and misleading claims that the wearers would experience up to a 500% increase in strength, power, and flexibility, and ordered that the claims be removed from the company's website and that they post a retraction within 2 weeks. Just a month later, after the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission ruled against them, the Australian distributor of Power Balance was forced to recognize and retract their medical claims, which they claimed they never made. They were required to make the following statement on their website, admitting they engaged in misleading conduct. Quote, in our advertising, we've stated that the Power Balance wristbands improved your strength, balance, and flexibility. We admit that there is no credible scientific evidence that supports our claims, and therefore we engaged in misleading conduct in breach of blah, 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 blah. If you feel you have been misled by our promotions, we wish to unreservedly apologize and offer a full refund.
Well, boy, I bet whoever had to type that up that was bitter as fuck.
Yeah. We got caught being assholes, and we're sorry.
Individual key on the keyboard. Motherfucking son of a bitch.
So I guess the ruling required that they publish at their own expense corrective advertisements, that they cease to claim that the products would improve the user's balance, strength, and flexibility, or that they were designed to work with the body's natural energy field, or use the claim that Power Balance is performance technology, or even use the phrase performance technology. They're forced to cease to manufacture or import products containing the words performance technology. They were made to black out the words performance technology on their packaging. They had to replace all of their promotional and marketing material and offer full refunds plus post. Big hit to them in Australia. In Italy, in December of 2010, the antitrust authority fined Power Balance 300,000 euros and another company 50,000 euros for not having scientific proof of the claims that they were making. I guess they were both selling the same kind of product. Volume goes down again. In September of 2010, the Dutch Advertising Code Commission ruled that the distributor of Power Balance in the Netherlands, quote, claims on its website that the use of the Power Balance bracelet improves balance, strength, and agility. These allegations are not backed with any single scientific evidence. The plaintiff believes that this method of advertising is in conflict with the Dutch Advertising Code, as the link between wearing the bracelet and the health of the wearer has not been determined in any way. But in this case, the effect of the ruling was kind of weak, though. They just had to recommend that the advertiser not advertise in such a way anymore, so they didn't actually have any forceful action.
They didn't get their pee-pees smacked, so to speak.
No. There was no newspaper to the face or anything. They didn't have to rub their nose in it. Let's see. In January of 2011, I believe in the U.S., a suit was filed against the company for fraud, false advertising, unfair competition, and unjust enrichment. They agreed in September of the year to settle the class action lawsuit. The terms entitled purchasers to a full $30 refund plus $5 shipping. And there was a hearing that was going to finalize the settlement, but it was canceled because Power Balance filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. By the end of 2011, the company was reported to be on the edge of going out of business, having paid out $57 million to settle lawsuits, in the course of which the executives acknowledged that their claims to improve strength and balance were bogus. They filed for Chapter 11. They then failed completely, but the brand has been transferred to a new company called Power Balance Technologies.
So are they still selling some kind of wackadoo bullshit products under that new brand, or?
I don't know. I didn't look into that. I know that there are all sorts of people who are selling imitations nowadays.
I admit that when I heard about the class action suit here in the U.S., and especially when I heard about the result from it, I thought, oh, good, that's the end of those bastards, and I just entirely started ignoring it. So yeah, I don't know. I never followed up to see if they had continued to sell that. I've seen since then. I still see, like, on the rare occasion I go to the mall, for instance, I'll still see someone selling some of that. Or I think Brandy and I were at the pharmacy at a store recently and saw a number of things like that. You know, and I don't think they were Power Balance, but different.
I've seen something called quantum energy bracelets sold at Bed Bath & Beyond. It's the same thing. Yeah, they put quantum in there, put a quantum on it. So yeah, basically the way that they trick people into making them think that they work is they do a balance test, and what this involves is they have you stand straight up with your feet together and your arms stretched out to your side, and they tell you to try to resist them as they push down on one of your hands to try to get you to fall over. And then they'll put the wristband on you, or whatever the necklace, whatever the product is, the rip-off product is, and then they'll push down on your arm in a different direction, down and towards your body, which gives them less leverage because the direction of the force is at a different angle. It makes it a weaker net force overall, and it's easier for you to resist them. So that then the people who are tricked into this are fooled into believing that the bracelet has made them stronger somehow, or given them better balance. Of course, there's been a lot of scientific testing of this. Unsurprisingly, none of it has been positive for them. In December of 2009, there was an informal double-blind test done on the Australian TV program Today Tonight, led by super skeptic Richard Saunders from the Australian Skeptics. Gotta love that guy. The results showed pretty strong evidence that any effect of the holograms was too small to measure against the placebo effect. In 2010, researchers commissioned by the BBC also found that the bands were placebos. In 2011, researchers from RMIT, I don't know where that is, RMIT School of Health Sciences reported the results of an independent, randomized, and controlled trial with double-blind design. To no skeptic's surprise, they found out that there was no difference in balance between people using a real hologram and those wearing a placebo. A 2012 study by Skeptical Inquirer magazine showed that in a double-blind test of performance on an optical course, 16 volunteers showed a difference in performance no greater than chance. In 2013, Vanguard University students were skeptical of the claims being made because these things were being pushed to the student athletes at the school, and they did their own test, and it showed no significant difference between the real wristband and the fake. To sum it all up, there's really nothing going on here. All of the testing found them to be placebos, and even the people behind the company admitted that it was nonsense. So
what I wonder is, if I'm, however I get conned into selling these things, when someone's going to show you how to do this demo, right? So they actually tell you, like, I'll make sure you push this way, otherwise they'll fall over.
Oh yeah, they absolutely know. There's no way that they can buy into the stuff that they're selling. They absolutely have to know to do the trick to sell this stuff.
And well, I was thinking about that just now. Unless you word it in a really tricky manner to make. Well, if you get someone gullible enough, you're like, okay, so you just want to push straight down on their arm now, and then when you put it on, you want to push this other way because.
So, sir, why do you want me to
insert
push in a different direction?
Explanation here. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you'd have to have some kind of explanation, but I wonder if that's the case. I would really like to know.
Yeah, I think this is one of those cases where, top to bottom, this was a scam. They knew it was a scam. They knew it was a way to get rich quick off of gullible people.
I was thinking, like Brandy would often say, like, you're either stupid or you're in on it in this case.
Right. Yeah. I guess there's also, like we mentioned before, with the negative magnetic field, there have been imitators who said that instead of using Eastern philosophies or whatever, that they were charged with negative ions.
I have run into that myself. Personally, I've run into that.
I got into an argument with a guy back when there was some imitator that was becoming popular with NBA stars, and it was talking about, it was like active armor or something like that, energy armor, something. They said that it was a hologram charged with negative ions, and I asked this guy, what is an ion? And he had no idea. He didn't understand that it's just a fucking hologram. It's a plastic hologram on a silicone wristband. It's all it is.
Yeah.
But since Power Balance has collapsed, the original company collapsed at least, all sorts of imitations have flooded the market. All you need to do really is Google Power Balance imitation, and you're going to find hundreds of them. One of the more hilarious ones that I found is actually just a USB cable in a silicone wristband that has a male and a female plug at one end, and it just plugs into itself to close around your wrist. So it's a little technology woo going on there too. I think my absolute favorite, though, is the placebo bands, which is, I guess, Travis Roy of the Granite State Skeptics and the Skeptic Zone podcast teamed up with Christopher Brown of the Meet the Skeptics podcast to bring placebo bands to the North American market. $4 will get you a product made in exactly the same way as a $40 Power Balance bracelet, even made in the same factory. There's going to be links to the show notes to the store if you want to get one yourself, and absolutely no medical claims are made. They're just a way to make a skeptical statement.
I have a personal testimony about these. I had 3 of these, in fact. One of them was I believe one was glow in the dark, if I'm not mistaken. That's probably extra placebo effect.
Extra infrared quantum energy.
Yeah, I wore mine for a while, and hoping I could get a good laugh out of it or something, and nobody, even when someone asked about it and I tell them, oh, it's a placebo band, and I'd be like waiting for them to get the joke, they never got it. No one ever got it. It was disappointing. So then I realized, like, no one can see placebo written on it unless they get right up on me. Otherwise, I just look like some ignorant tool walking around wearing a Power Balance bracelet, so I just stopped wearing it. I don't even know where they are anymore.
They even come in camo, and they have a very attractive P hologram on them.
Yeah, they're nice.
The U.S. store is placebobandstore.com, and there's a link to the Canadian store there. The link for them is longer for some reason. So
I wonder how well those are selling. Because I got mine I want to say 3 years ago. Sounds right. It's been a while now.
They've been around for a while. They must be doing pretty well. But I think to close off this segment, one of the funniest pieces of coverage that I've ever seen on power balance bands comes from a couple of posts on the blog of a guy named Nathan Lee. We're going to have links to those in the show notes, and I really suggest to go check them out. There was, I guess, an uproar in Australia back a couple years ago when a bunch of people realized that the power balance bands they had bought were knockoffs, and they were upset that they were getting a fake healing device for like $60, and he basically gave you a guide for how to tell whether or not your power balance band was a scam. And
balance, it's a scam.
If it's a fake knockoff, it's a scam. If you bought it from some shady store, it's a scam. If it's a real one, it's a scam. So, yeah.
I'm putting these links up on the showcase right now, so whoever's watching can look through them.
So who's this Dr. Albert Abrams guy I see here?
Is that a bowler submission?
That's a bowler submission, yeah.
Is it a bowler hat?
Yeah.
Ching.
Yeah. Well, kind of getting some of the historical. I mean, all this craziness has been going on. I mean, well, the magnets from the 16th century, but the big push was in the 1880s to maybe like the 1920s, and Dr. Albert Abrams, who was an American doctor, well known during his life for inventing machines which claimed that could diagnose and cure almost any disease. These claims were challenged on the outset. Toward the end of his life, and again shortly after his death, his claims were conclusively demonstrated to be both false and intentionally deceptive.
Oh, say it ain't so.
Right. Yeah. Abrams promoted the idea that electrons are the basic elements of all life. He called this ERA for electronic reactions of Abrams. Really original, I guess, and introduced a number of different machines he claimed were based on these principles. The machines, the dynamizer, looked something like a radio, and Abrams claimed it could diagnose any known disease from a single drop of blood, or alternatively, the subject's handwriting. He performed these diagnoses on dried blood samples sent to him on pieces of paper and envelopes through the mail. Apparently, Abrams even claimed he can conduct medical practice over the telephone with his machines, and that he could determine personality characteristics. The dynamizer was big business, and by 1918, courses in spondylotherapy and ERA cost $200. It's about the same purchasing power as $2,800 in 2008. Equipment was leased at about $200 with a monthly $5 charge. Thereafter, the lessee had to sign a contract stating the device would never be opened. Abrams explained that this would disrupt the delicate adjustment, but the rule also served to prevent the Abrams device from being examined. When he widened his claim to treating the diagnosed diseases, Abrams came up with a new and even more impressive gadgets, the oscilloclast and the radioclast, which came with the tables of frequencies that were designed to attack specific diseases. Clients were told cures would require repeated treatments. Dynamizer operators tended to give alarming diagnosis involving combinations of such maladies as cancer, diabetes, and syphilis. Abrams often include
that's a triple clusterfuck of problems right there.
Yeah, that's like the trifecta of nastiness. Abrams also
herpes on top of it, and you got a gold.
Yeah. Abrams also included a disease called bovine syphilis, unknown to other medical practitioners.
Oh, God, that sounds horrifying. Is that for fucking cows?
Yeah. He claimed that the oscilloclast was capable of defeating most of these diseases most of the time. And by 1921...
65% of the time, it works 100% of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And by 1921, there was claimed to be 2,500 practitioners using ERA technology. Conventional medical practitioners were extremely suspicious. Now he went through a bunch of investigations. One of them was a test where the Scientific American had 6 vials with a disease in them, and he was supposed to have the machine identify the particular diseases, and out of the 6, 0 was detected. Everything was wrong. Of course, the guy that was doing the test claimed that the iron in the ink on the labels caused a disruption. So they found a better way of or different ink to mark the vials, and they ran the test again and detected 0 out of 6. Eventually, when Abrams passed away, one of his machines was in the Smithsonian, so they decided to pop one open. And what they found in there was a jumble of wires.
Of course.
Not connected to anything.
No, what I was thinking, of course, after he's dead. Of course, after he's dead, you couldn't expose him while he's still alive.
Right.
I knew this was going to turn out like this. This is exactly like the douchebag who made a fake mine detector or bomb detector or whatever it was. That was just an empty box that you put something into, and it's a fucking dowsing rod. Ugh.
Yeah. So, pretty much this guy's been debunked, but a lot of those same concepts have carried on today with the magnetics and the e-machines what the Scientologists use. A lot of these, it's all based on kind of this fake electrical. I don't know.
The thing is,
science.
What gets me about this guy, he came out with the Dynoclast or Dynamizer in the early 1900s, 1910s.
Yeah.
The electron was discovered in 1897 as a particle, the actual particle itself. So this was the fact that he's using the electron. It's kind of like people today using quantum. It's always the frontier of science is what these quacks use as their miracle cure.
Yeah.
And I mean, just around the early 1910s, I think, is when the first radio transmissions were made, and so then he has the radioclast in the late 19-teens. So it's just clinging to the latest frontier of technology to have this big, sexy, unknown realm painted onto your bullshit.
Yeah. Anything, because electricity was a big, the latest discovery. The biggest thing. Edison was starting to light up New York, and it led to all sorts of neat electrical devices, such as, hey, play the clip.
See if we can get this to play.
Yeah, play the clip.
If this doesn't play here, we'll edit it in. So.
Yeah.
Yes. You mean I will?
Yes, you. All right. Open up, damn it. Yeah, I can't get it to play here, but it'll be in the show. So.
What is this clip that we're playing?
It's actually the Dumbass Media Empire presents a masturbation moment.
Okay.
It's a sponsored thing with the Amateur Skeptics. They do a masturbation moment, so I wanted that clip just so Dumbass can be with us in spirit.
And now, this week in masturbation.
Yeah.
Brought to you by the Columbia Radio Network and Camel Cigarettes.
Lube. It's magic, especially if it's magnetic lube.
Long in the leaf and short in the can.
Sand. It's everywhere. Get used to it.
Oh, God. Yeah. The chafing. Oh, God, the chafing.
Yeah.
Okay, back on track.
Vibrators used as a cure for female hysteria.
I would just like to say, before we talk any more about this, I am a proponent of this. I think this is a great idea.
I think it's hysterical.
Huh?
What you did there, I see it.
Yeah, I say we start a research project on this one.
Get some volunteers.
Get some volunteers. So
if you wish to volunteer for this, contact us at feedback@irreverentskeptics.com.
And don't worry, we will accept both male and female volunteers.
Pics or video, or it didn't happen.
So, female hysteria was once a common medical diagnosis made exclusively in women, which totally is no longer recognized by medical authorities as a medical disorder. Its diagnosis and treatment was routine for many hundreds of years in Western Europe. Hysteria was widely discussed in medical literature of the 19th century. Women considered to be suffering from it exhibited a wide range of symptoms, including faintness, nervousness, sexual desire, insomnia, fluid retention, heaviness in the abdomen, muscle spasm, shortness of breath.
Heaviness in the abdomen?
Yep. Shortness of breath, irritability, loss of appetite for food or sex.
Congenital burpees.
Yeah, and a tendency to cause trouble. That was
those meddlesome ladies.
Yeah. I love how a tendency to cause trouble was a medical diagnosis.
Hang on just 1 second. Hey, Brandy, do you have any hysteria going on today? Okay, we'll deal with that later. Anyway.
Okay.
Hey-o.
Okay, where was I? Yeah. Heaviness in the okay. Where was I? Tendency to cause trouble. In extreme cases, the woman would be forced into an asylum and undergo surgical hysterectomy.
Jesus fucking Christ.
But ironically, women's sexual pleasure was the furthest thing from the minds of the male doctors who invented vibrators almost 2 centuries ago.
Well, you know that women don't actually have sexual pleasure, as we all know. They really just kind of sit there and fake it.
Right. They were interested. Yeah, they were interested in. Yeah. Yeah. They were interested in a labor-saving device to spare their hands the fatigue they developed giving hand jobs to a steady stream of 19th century ladies who suffered from hysteria.
What?
Yep. That's a what? A vaguely defined ailment.
Say it again.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mind if I give you a hand there, ma'am?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah.
Did they have Porno Groove back then? Need to have a little background track going.
They should have. So for your medical appointment, you walk in, the doctor tells you, sit over here and let me turn some tunes on.
Yep.
Here, madam, come over and have a nice seat on my face.
Sit on the Davenport and...
Yep.
Lay back and think of England.
Yep. Because it was kind of interesting when I first found out that vibrators was actually a medical device, because you can go to the Sears catalog at that time and you could buy a vibrator kit, but there was like 2 or 3 attachments that only could be purchased by a doctor.
Nice. Do you know you can buy a vibrator from Walgreens?
Yeah, you can buy personal massagers from Walgreens.
Yeah. Oh no, they just straight up say vibrator.
Oh, do they?
Well, Trojan.
I think it depends on where you are. I saw a display in Oklahoma City at a Walgreens. I was waiting for my prescription. I turned and looked, and there was a selection of personal massagers, but none of them said dildo.
Oh no, you can buy them from the website. Yeah.
Oh.
And they've even got like porn star brand names and Doc Johnson, all that kind of stuff. Oh, as a side note here, I was trying to look up the origin of just regular sex toys. Apparently, the oldest dildo ever found was something like 20,000 years old. It's 8 inches long and 8 inches around, actually.
Wow.
I mean, there was claim. Yeah. Well, there was claims that Cleopatra had a vibrator. It was like a cylinder filled with bees that was supposed to. I don't know if that's true.
It was powered by slaves shaking it really fast.
But needless to say, I mean, actually the story. That time, 1880s to 1920s, it's that you had this really weird... I always like... It's kind of neat where these doctors believed all sorts of crazy stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with the eugenics movement, but...
yeah.
Where the...
Kind of a big deal back then.
Yeah, it was... It's really evolution on the ugly side of evolution... Where
applying survival of the fittest to society as like, intending things, evolution intending things instead of just happening.
Right, because some of the eugenics laws in the United States what would get you thrown into an asylum to have to be sterilized, basically. One of them was feeble-mindedness. That was a disease at the time. So it's, it was really, I mean, it's pretty screwy what they were thinking about. And of course, they probably, I mean, maybe some credit, they really didn't understand what they were dealing with, because human sexuality was kind of a real taboo until I think Kinsey in his study, and a lot of the stuff was all. I mean, it was a male-dominated. Medicine was a male-dominated industry, and it really didn't have. Nothing really changed until like the 18 or the 19, right around 1919, when John Hopkins decided or created they set up a lab or a school to study disease, and trying to bring some of the European work, Pasteur and his discovery of the germ theory, where they could expand the study of medicine.
Actual modern scientific medicine. Yeah.
Right. Because up to that point, to be a doctor in the United States, all you needed was to spend 6 weeks with a real doctor as an apprentice.
Jeez.
And you could, if you could do math and did the 6 weeks study, you were a doctor.
And if you look dashingly handsome in a white coat.
Yeah.
White coats back then.
I'm a doctor of nothingology, so yeah. I look great in a white coat.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's our masturbation moment. So, let's carry on.
Nice.
Wait, mine's not over. Hang on. Wait. Okay.
Wait.
Don't stop. I'm almost there. Is this the first or the second coming?
Ching.
Speaking of which, Nicolas Cage starring in Left Behind, Second Coming of
What?
Jesus. Get a towel.
Wait, what? What?
They're remaking the Left Behind movies, and Nicolas Cage is starring as the airplane pilot who is one of the Left Behind main characters.
Was that who Kirk Cameron played in the original version?
No, it's Kirk Cameron played Buck. What's his name? This is Rayford Steele, which is like almost a romance novel name, if I've ever heard one. Rayford Steele.
Huh. So there's that. The guy's such a boob, I swear.
Boobs again.
Boobs. Speaking of boobs, here's a pseudo-medical device.
Boobies!
From 1976, the foot-operated breast enlarger pump.
What?
Yeah. So this thing was a system where you had these two basically vacuum suction cups that you placed over the breasts, and there were tubes attached to a foot pump.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, it's that simple. So you just step on this foot pump, and it's supposed to enlarge your breast.
For what, 2 minutes?
Well, it had yeah. So there's that. Apparently, all that ever really happened was a bunch of bruising if you use this.
Yeah, it'll pull blood to the surface. And
See, the kit came with 3 different sizes, all large, of course. So 4 million people bought this device. 4 fucking million people bought this device. The article I read said 4 million women, and I'm thinking, I bet there were a bunch of guys buying that going, here, I got you something. Talk about an awkward evening. So anyway, I used an online calculator to figure out the difference between the cost of it in 1976, which was $9.95, versus the cost of it today. And the approximate cost would be $41.99 today.
What?
Yeah, so the total dollars spent in today's dollars on this device in 76 would be the equivalent of $167 million today.
That's a lot of tit bump money.
That is a bunch of tit pump money. I need to switch businesses.
No shit.
Also massages before and after the pumping, because you want everything to be properly aligned or...
Excuse me, ma'am.
something.
I'm a professional.
That's right.
I don't get any pleasure from this at all.
So according to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, quote, for decades, millions of dollars have been spent on devices, creams, and lotions advertised as breast developers, all wasted. There's no device or system of exercise that will increase the size of the breasts. At best, devices promoted as breast developers merely strengthen and develop the muscles that support the breasts, and exercising these muscles will not appreciably increase breast size.
In fact, it can get a little freaky if those muscles are too developed. Like I've seen female professional bodybuilders, and there's like the breast looks almost like a fake breast on top of the giant muscle that they have. It's really weird.
You can still, in fact, buy things similar to this and other breast enlargement systems these days. There's some that are like, there's a bunch of course, herbal supplements that are anything from take these pills to rub this on your skin and, you know, whatever is supposed to happen. I guess it just like it absorb the herbs absorb and your boobs get larger. So
that reminds me of the penis enlargement cream that you rub into your penis.
Jergens?
Surprise! It gets larger.
Or well, I guess
you're unlucky and you're more of a.
This would be. I guess really this would be the same idea as like a penis pump. I guess.
Basically,
so yeah. It would only be temporary, and I would imagine I don't know that I've seen it, but I would imagine that this is also big in some BDSM communities.
I'm pretty sure you can get a penis pump on Medicaid. I've heard stories about that.
Yeah.
That's depressing.
Yeah. So moving on to our last pseudo-medical devices.
Dracula's favorite therapy.
Yeah, the bloodletting devices. This might not quite qualify as quackery, in my opinion, just because at the time when these were really popular, no one really knew any better. This was when medical science was still centered on the four humors, which were blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. So bloodletting was a popular way to treat all manner of maladies. There were also purging, starving, vomiting. Those were other cures of the day.
I think my favorite humor is good humor because they make great ice cream.
Vanilla.
I'm a food-centric man.
So there were a number of devices used to draw blood back in the day. So this first one I was looking at was a spring-loaded lancet, which this is basically just an earlier version of a modern lancet. Which people, like if you have diabetes, for instance, and have to check your blood sugar, you use it to prick your finger. The one I was looking at was considerably larger, as it was used to, pierce the vein in your arm.
Holy shit.
Fuck. Like, yeah, I read that and I was like, fuck. Like, holy shit. There were non-spring-loaded versions of the lancet. Some were just used, like, you grab a hold of it and just force it into the flesh, into the vein, and others were tapped with a hammer or something similar. That just sounds terrible. So here's one. This is the juicy one called the scarificator. This was vogue in the 18th century. So this thing's cocked and has a trigger. Or sorry, this is.
Cocked.
So this device, anyway, you cock it and it has a trigger that releases spring-driven rotary blades, which cause many shallow cuts in the skin.
Oh my God.
Yeah, dig this. The article I read says this one seemed to be the more merciful of the devices listed, but I don't know. I looked at it and I thought about it for a minute. Like, this sounds pretty fucking brutal to me. And then once again, I thought, also, I bet you could find this in some BDSM communities somewhere.
Oh my God, the picture of this thing makes it look horrifying.
Doesn't it, though? Yeah, it is. Ooh.
These are not small blades.
Yeah, I'm just like, how's that the merciful one?
So I'm seeing a picture of a guy holding this thing. It's about the size of the palm of his hand, and there are four rotating blades that look like they're about the width of a pencil, like along the edge. That's not small.
I saw a drawing of one that had 12 blades.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Is this like the Gillette pentuple, quintuple blade thing, the razors? It's like they keep adding blades onto this thing. We're gonna have a 15 blade razor eventually, and nobody's going to use it.
It'll cost $37. It'll cost $37 each.
Yes, you'll need a prescription for it.
That's right.
That's for people who have what is the disease that makes them covered in hair? The werewolf boys or whatever they called them. Not lupus. That's totally unrelated.
It's never lupus.
It's never lupus, unless it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the name of that disease is.
Hirsutism. I don't know.
Old hairy white guy syndrome. I don't know. There's a couple of guys in the neighborhood here where I live that might have that. Here's a complete
Is there something strange in your neighborhood?
Yeah, there is something strange in my neighborhood. Apparently, it's very chic around here to be in your late 50s, rather overweight, pale as fuck, and only wear a pair of shorts while you walk around your front yard.
That's called being a retired old white dude. It's everywhere in America.
I don't remember seeing this back in Oklahoma City.
Northern
I'm sure
Michigan
it happened,
down to southern Texas.
Like, I can't walk or drive anywhere in my neighborhood without being like, oh, burn retinas, Jesus.
I have finished my tenure as an employed male, and I no longer give half a fuck. And here I am, worldwide.
Not even a quarter of a fuck.
There are no fucks left to give. I gave them all at work. Ran out of fucks a day. You're not getting any.
So that's it for our bloodletting devices. Someone had a mention here of Theodoric of York, the medieval barber. That was a bit on SNL. I remember that.
Yes, Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Theodoric York. Anything goes wrong, take a pint of blood. Take a pint of blood. And
I'm all out of pints of blood, sir.
And then what was it? What did he did? And he did the bit. He did this thing like back in the day we would said there was a demon possessing this person, but now we know it's a gnome that has buried itself in the person's stomach, which means
the wonders of modern medicine.
Yeah, and then he goes into this. Perhaps we should think and reason, a type of a renaissance. Nah.
All right, we're ready to move on to our what?
Sure, why not?
What? All right, so our first one.
What?
Our first one, Jay-Z Knight is back. Jay-Z Knight of Ramtha channeling fame.
Yeah, her cult is the one that put together that What the Bleep Do We Know movie back in the day. Yeah.
Oh, is that who did it?
Yeah, they funded it.
I'll be damned. So she's suing.
She thinks she channels the spirit of a 35,000-year-old warrior from Lemuria, which is one of the nations that fought Atlantis.
Right. Yeah. What was great about this, I saw this article. She apparently went on a racist and anti-gay rant. I think it was as she was channeling Ramtha. So she could have claimed it was Ramtha going on the racist and
very, 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 very old-fashioned.
Right. He's old school.
So school to call. So old.
He's
to
so
school
old school. He doesn't like the Jews or the gays.
Which we didn't have them back in my day.
What was great about this story was when I started reading this, I was like, "Holy shit, she's still around!" I didn't know she was still around.
I thought she died of irrelevance.
Mike Bowler, you said you talked about this a couple weeks ago on Bitch Spot.
Yeah.
Which by the time this comes out will be like a few months ago.
Right. About a year ago, yeah, we talked about it. Yeah, I chose this story because it's one of those things that I kind of worry about with the decline of religion and hopefully the rise of atheism. But certainly people are going to be seeking out alternatives. This is one of those alternatives, like say Scientology. And this lady doesn't sound much different than than a theist and their general ranting about race and homosexuality and all that kind of stuff. I mean, are people giving up the traditional religion to find this insanity, joining this insanity, because it kind of fits their worldview? That was my biggest question and one of the things that I was concerned about.
Did you get to see the video of this, the actual rant video? I can't find it now. I searched extensively, and
I didn't see it.
If it's still around to be found, I was not able to uncover it. It's been removed from the... There were a couple places that were hosting it, and it's since been removed. So I would like to watch it. So I guess technically I can't say this. She said these did or didn't say these things in the videos. It's alleged, I suppose. But so there's that. So here's one. This is the headline from Raw Story. Maybe it's time to reevaluate the tradition of putting a baby's penis in a grown-up's mouth. Well, you take that out of context, and what the fuck?
But sadly, this is probably not the first time most people who listen to podcasts, atheist podcasts, have heard this story.
Right. So just briefly what this is about. This was focused on since 2006. 16 babies have contracted herpes from the ritual Metsitsa Bapé, which,
I'm sorry,
by the
John,
way...
I gotta interrupt you. I believe it's called matzo ball bapapa.
No, I actually, for once, I was like, I'm going to pronounce this right. It's Metsitsa Bapé.
I gotta shit on you when you get it right.
Okay, well, so's your face. So anyway, what this is, so after circumcision's performed, the mohel will suck the blood off the baby's penis, which, yeah, there's nothing about that sounds like a good idea. I have a link here, which I highly recommend you go watch this link. It's a 2-minute video of a rabbi explaining the importance of the Metsitsa Bapé. Oh man, it's just crazy. The shit he says. He's talking about how, human saliva is actually antiseptic, and it's a good idea. And some other shit. But that was one that really got me. I was just like, what? Oh well, that explains why when I go to the emergency room with a cut, everyone just stands around and spits on me. I get it now.
Clean. Yeah.
Don't worry, this is therapeutic.
But John, baby dick sucking is a time-tested and respected practice. I mean, shouldn't we just take the advice of so many people online and stop being such strident anti-Semites? I mean, come on. After all, you can only possibly object to a grown man putting an infant's penis in his mouth and sucking on it because you hate the Jews. There's no possible other rational explanation. You're just being intolerant.
I got nothing. I got nothing for that. Yeah.
If it was a Catholic priest doing that, he'd be up in, he'd be
shuffled off to another parish.
You mean when it is?
When it is.
He'd be covered up and put in another place somewhere.
There's just no bloodletting involved. At least, well, never mind. I'm not going down that road.
Nobody wants to be a 40-week-old virgin, John.
A 40-week-old. So does the mohel, right before he does it, does he just say, no homo, real quick before?
Oh, my heart hurts. And my humanity is gone. Any vestige of normalcy or rationality, reasonableness that I had, I've lost because of this podcast. So thank you.
So there's the one. So 16 babies contracting herpes from this shit. What the fuck? Seriously?
But remember, that's only the ones who got herpes. This happened a lot more than that.
Oh yeah. But that doesn't mean it's only. That doesn't mean that
just
this has only
16
been
babies
performed
getting
16 times. This means 16 of them contracted herpes. Like I don't even know how many this has happened to.
And this entire culture, this entire community, just sees this as something they do. It's not unusual at all. That fucking boggles my mind.
Mm-hmm.
The things that you can be led to believe by thinking that it's an important religious ritual.
Yeah.
So we actually have, for the first time ever for our show, we have listener feedback to address.
What?
Yes.
What? How?
Yes. I'm not sure where this came from.
Who is this person?
Which one of you put this in the notes?
I put it in there.
Okay.
Yeah, because I got. What?
Oh, I was gonna read it off here, but go ahead and tell us where's this from now?
Well, this came through feedback at irreverentskeptics.com.
Oh, I didn't see it in the inbox.
Neither did I.
Wow.
Well, good thing I was looking.
Is our feedback box set up right? Maybe we've been getting all sorts of feedback and we just never seen it because it was.
There's like 2,000 "you suck" messages. I've even scrolled through.
God damn it! Respond to me.
I've scrolled through over 1,000 of the spam Louis Vuitton, Gucci
Rolex
bag,
watches.
spam. Yeah, just to make sure no one in there is like, "you suck a dick." Like, I just wanted to address
Thank
just
you.
one person. Tell
Keep
yes.
listening.
Yeah. Oh, this. Yeah, this.
And I remember to cup the balls. Delicious, delicious balls. Salty and meaty.
Ooh, have you been running today?
Fresh. These are nice and toned. Balls. Get enough balls in the face.
All right.
Sweaty chocolate balls?
I gotta read this.
Sweaty balls.
Balls. This is from James P. Dear Irreverent Skeptics, have you heard of the podcast, The Higher Side Chats? It is a conspiracy podcast. It's very bad, almost as good as Coast to Coast AM.
I can't tell if the name is clever or if it's just like stoner clever. I mean, the initials are THC and it's a pot joke, so.
I listened to one of them. I never heard of it, actually. I mean, so I listened to one of it, and I think I think they're passing around the ganj.
I thought it was a joke
when
I first saw it, and then I went and looked at their store for the shirts they sell. Oh no, not a joke.
I am not. Thanks, James, by the way, for the feedback. I have not.
Sheep shirts. I almost want to buy one. It's like a person in a suit with a sheep's head.
He says it's bad. It's almost as good as Coast to Coast. That makes me want to listen. Actually.
Right.
I have many times listened to Coast to Coast. I will say this: I don't think I've ever listened to an entire episode because, good fucking God, does that go on forever? But I do enjoy a good hour and a half of Coast to Coast once in a while.
I think my favorite clip I've ever seen from Coast to Coast is where a guy called in and basically gave the plot to the game Half-Life, pretending that he was Gordon Freeman calling in to talk about all the stuff that had been going on at Black Mesa.
Yeah.
The host totally bought it.
Yeah, the G-Man's been following me through the facilities, and
I've been doing all sorts of weird experiments with interdimensional portals, and the host just swallowed everything that was thrown at him.
Hook, line, and sinker.
What was it? I don't remember what something like kind of like a bat person hybrid, some sort of thing. Not a Batman, thank you, but like some bat person hybrid. Like attacking this car, these people that were in a car. I listened to like a good hour-long story about this. I cannot remember now what they called it. They had a name for whatever this creature was. It was somewhere in the desert. It's
like the opposite of a skepticism show. It's a believe everything you hear show.
Yeah, another one of my favorites was listening to this guy who was talking about his idea that we actually live inside of a big sphere. So we live on the inside of the sphere, and the stars we see are on the inside of this large sphere. Which is
why they move and change, and we've gone to space, and
we just haven't reached the edge of the sphere, McElroy. God, why you're so skeptical? Oh, for fuck's sake.
I know. I gotta stop doubting everything and just believe. Faith.
That's right.
Faith it up.
So yeah, thanks, James, for the feedback.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll have to check out that podcast now.
I will check it out for sure. And I will report something back on our next show. Be sure and listen for it next June.
Hey, we're only like 5 months behind.
Yeah, we're catching up. We're catching up. All right, so
I'm working on a dieting episode from the end of March.
Speaking of upcoming episodes, so McElroy, what's going on with your new podcast?
We've only recorded a couple episodes of it so far. We're still looking at the whole logistics of getting it hosted and whatever. I don't know. We haven't done anything that's in a while. We had folk come visit, and I don't know. We've been busy.
I feel you.
We're thoroughly puzzled by the Bible already, and we're only like 22 chapters into Genesis, and we're 2% of the way done.
It gets better. Finger quotes.
I'm sorry. Are you kidding? I can't tell if you're kidding.
That's why I did the finger quotes. It gets finger quotes better.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Bowler, what's coming up next with you on BitchSpot and on Skeptic's Guide to Conspiracy?
BitchSpot, we're gonna have a guest on next week, so we're gonna be talking about the Hobby Lobby ruling.
Nice.
Amongst other things, and for the Skeptic's Guide to Conspiracy, I'm going back over some of my old shows. I'm going to re-release the Pearl Harbor. I'm kind of reworking it, add some new stuff, rearrange it a little bit, make it kind of new, but it's the same old story. So if you can afford, if you heard the first one, you might want to skip, but I will have it a little bit more cleaner, plus better audio. And that's the plan there.
I don't know what Dumbass has coming up on Amateur Skeptics, but since he's been on location for a number of weeks now, he's going to have some great stories about Bigfoot and barbecues and something else. I don't know.
Excellent.
All right, I guess that's going to do it for this week. Join us again next week when we'll talk about, well, I'm not sure what, something.
And remember, all of humanity's problems are caused by the uterus.
We should insert another send your hate mail and death threats right here.
Yes.